Hi, my name is Terri Clark. I'm a dietitian at Mercy Medical Center.
And I'm Andy Deutmeyer, Executive Chef for Mercy Medical Center. And today we're going to be talking about beans.
So beans are a great food source. They're very low in fat, they're high in protein, high in fiber, and you can use them in all kinds of dishes. You can use them in salads, soups, side dishes, and Andy's going to show you a dish too that you can make them in. We're actually talking about legumes right now, and legumes are kidney beans, lima beans, garbanzo beans, some of those beans that you can buy either canned or you can buy dried. And the difference really between dried and canned beans, well, preparation is a big one, but also the main difference is really the sodium content. When you buy your canned beans, you can get up to almost 1,200 milligrams of sodium per cup. With the dried beans, you have 0. So there is a huge difference there. If you're concerned about your sodium, some of the things that you can do, especially with the canned beans, is you could rinse them before you use them, but you're still going to get sodium in them as they're leached into the actual bean. Or you could buy the low salt or the sodium-free canned beans.
Beans. Everybody kind of likes them. I think everybody can like them a lot more if they make them themselves. Canned beans don't do justice to the bean world, in my opinion. One being texture, one being flavor. What you can do with beans is awesome. It's endless. How you want to make them taste is totally up to you. That's the nice thing about a bean. Whatever you cook them with or cook them in, it's going to absorb that flavor, and you will taste that all the way through the bean. So let's talk about cooking beans. It's going to take more time than opening a can. I guarantee you that, but the results will definitely be worth it. So beans, they're going to be, like basically rock hard when they're in their raw state. First thing you want to do, get your beans, whatever variety. And the amount of variety of beans out there in the world is crazy. It's endless. I mean, there is just hundreds of bean varieties in the world, and some of them you can't get except for like in gourmet shops and things like that, but there's plenty you can find in your local grocery store. First thing, you got your beans, maybe you're pouring them out of the bag. Just give them a quick visual inspection. Look for little pebbles, rocks, things like that. Nobody wants to bite down on that. And then you want to give them a quick rinse in water. Okay, so it's always good to wash everything we eat first. So now at this point, there's 2 things you can do. Now if you've got time and you're thinking ahead, you can soak your beans. That is probably the recommended way to do beans. You want to soak them for about 6 to 8 hours. So best thing to do, overnight works really well. If you forget to soak them overnight, drop them in water before you go to work in the morning, and then by the time you get home, they're going to have a nice 6 to 8 hour soak. They're going to cook. The reason for this, they're going to cook a lot faster and a lot more evenly. Also, they say so soaking the beans allows some of the carbohydrates to leach out, and some of those carbohydrates are the kinds that our body can't break down very well, which ends up in the problem with gas that is associated with beans. So soaking can be a really good option, and it really affects the cooking process. And soaking is literally this simple. You want to make sure you have about 3 times as much water as beans. Let them sit out on the countertop overnight or for 6 to 8 hours, and you'll notice when the time that 6 or 8 hours is up, they're going to have grown quite a bit, because they're going to slowly start absorbing water. So that's one way. If you have time or if you thought it through, soak them when you can. 6 to 8 hours is perfect. Start getting into 12, 14 hours, things like that, a whole day. That gets a little long. Then they're going to start to ferment on you. It can really put on an off-tasting flavor. So you don't want to go too long, but 6 to 8 is about perfect. Now, if you don't have time to soak your beans, there is another option. So you've got them washed. You've got them kind of visually inspected. We've got our beans. Make sure you give them plenty of water. For this method, this is kind of like a quick method. You can bring it up to a boil, let them roll for maybe about 5-10 minutes, turn it down, turn the heat off, and just let them sit in that hot water for about a half hour or so. That's really going to give them a good head start before you start recooking them again and go for the whole cooking process. So if you forget to soak them, just bring them up to a boil for a couple minutes, let them roll there. Just turn off the heat and let them sit in that hot water. The idea is we want that moisture to soak into the bean nice and even. If we just went straight from raw state, let them boil hard until they were done, we're really going to lose the texture that we're looking for. It can beat up the skins, the beans can start to fall apart, they can get mushy. That's not what we want. So we're going to present that we already have our beans soaked here, or they have come up and kind of did a quick little hot water bath to steam them, or to soften them up a little bit. Now the nice thing is, I got them just in here with water right now. You could do that. You could do that all day, but that wouldn't be very fun beans. Let's make some fun beans. Let's add some stuff to them so they taste good. I'm going to do some carrot, celery, and onion. Mirepoix goes everywhere. They're aromatic vegetables. When you cut carrots, celery, onions in your kitchen, you can smell that. You can smell it in the other room. That's why it goes into everything. And don't get fussy, because we're going to want to pick this out of it eventually. So just nice big hearty chunks in there. We're just using this as a flavoring component to add flavor to our cooking liquid, which is eventually going to soak into our beans, and that's how it's going to flavor our beans. Okay, so I got some carrots, celery, onion, bay leaves. Anytime I'm cooking something long and slow, bay leaves are great. Got a few bay leaves in there. A few cloves of garlic. I got some fresh herbs, some fresh thyme here. And totally optional, we're going to pull this out. I got a little bacon. I think it adds so much good flavor to it, and we're going to pull it out. Again, totally optional. If you're trying to keep the fat out of your food, don't put the bacon in there. But I'm a fan. So this is simple. See what we got going on here? We got this nice looking little, you know, look pretty already. It's just got, you can tell that's going to taste good by the end. Big things though, when cooking beans, save the salt to the end. If you're going to salt them at all, salt them to the end, because adding salt now affects how the moisture soaks into the bean. It's going to prevent the moisture from soaking into the bean. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. So salt at the end on beans if you're going to season them. Beans are typically going to take about 40 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on their size. Much of the cooking time is going to depend on their size. Because they're, like I was saying earlier, the amount of beans, shape, sizes, range is huge. So that's going to make a big difference. We just want to get this up to a boil, and we want to get it down to a simmer. A nice, light simmer, gentle, gentle, gentle when you're cooking beans, because we want them to retain their texture and their shape. If we get these rolling on a full boil, it's just going to beat them up. So once it comes up, we're going to turn it down. A lid is a good thing to put on this when you're cooking them, and just nice and slow. Kind of helps your water from reducing away. So I'm starting to boil. I'm going to take that down to just a nice, gentle simmer. Like I said, if you got them pre-soaked, or if you gave them a quick little head start in some hot water or some boiling water, 40 minutes to an hour and a half. It's going to depend. But it will be worth the wait. Okay, so our beans are looking about right. And that can vary too. Depends on what you want to do with that bean when you're done with it, and how you like your beans. If you like them a little bit firmer, that's your choice. If you like them nice and mushy, that's your choice. So just take some out, taste them, sample them, see what their texture is, where they're at. I do recommend sampling a couple different ones in case some didn't cook evenly. So maybe try 3 or 4 different beans to make sure that you got a nice even cook. So when this is done, we're just going to strain off our water. And then we get to this finished product. And I wanted to show beans will certainly blow up on you in the water when they cook. So if you've got a cup of beans, they're going to probably turn into about 4 cups of beans when they're cooked. You can see here's a raw one, and here is a cooked one. You can see how much they grew. That's about double to triple. So they're going to take off on you. So plan on that when you're making beans. Otherwise, you might have yourself a whole lot of beans that you don't want. Nice thing is, at this point, whatever you want to do with them, you want to serve them as a side, great. You know, you could season them up with a little olive oil, a little pepper, maybe some more fresh parsley or herbs. That would be great. Cool them down, throw them into a salad. That works. Put them back into a soup. Whatever you want to do. And there's a lot of good beans out there that are good for, like, you can take them to a real far cooking state where they mash really well. Mash it up, make bean cakes. It's endless where you can go with beans. So that is the long and short on cooking beans. As I was saying, you're not going to save a lot of time versus opening a can, but what you're going to get is texture and flavor, and you can make them taste any way you want. You want to make your own chili beans to have like chili-infused beans for your chili, you can do that. So you can really make these taste how you want them to, and that's one of the exciting things about beans, I think. So enjoy your bean cooking.